Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Cold Steel Recon 1, a very unapologetically tactical folder from Cold Steel, and one that I found myself really liking. That's saying something from Cold Steel. I guess I like my American Lawman also, but yeah, sometimes Cold Steel rubs me wrong. They do not with this knife because it is an unapologetic tactical folder, and I kind of love it for that. It is not a new design, and this is not the new one, but why I am reviewing this one is it is made in CTS XHP steel. That is going away. They are switching to S35 VN. Some people aren't too happy about that. I kind of count myself as one of those. You can see more about it in the conclusion here. But if you want an XHP one, jump on it because they are still widely available, but the S35s are also popping up. So that means they're phasing it out. So get on that. Get on it. You got to, if you want the XHP and the Recon 1, or in any Cold Steel for that matter, get on it. It's not a money grab thing like some people have said. I'm for once going to stick up for Cold Steel. It is just that it is not available in the quantities that they need anymore. The company that makes it prefers to deal with larger batches, and they're not as, it is a tool steel, so they're more selling to large amounts to industrial people instead of to knife companies. So get on one if you want the XHP. It's going to be S35 VN. It already is. So they're not making the XHP anymore. So if you want one, go get it. Have I beat that into the ground enough? All right. Let's move on to talk a little bit more about this specific design, because 90% of what I'm doing in this review is also going to apply to the S35 one. The prices are about the same, everything. So, and the design's exactly the same. It's just a change in blade steel. So let's move on. The Recon 1 does come in 3 different sizes. This is the standard, quote-unquote standard size, the regular Recon 1. It comes in an XL Recon 1. As the catchy name would imply, it is larger. It also comes in a micro Recon 1, as the name would imply, is smaller. The Recon 1 in this size, which is a 4-inch blade, comes in 2 different blade shapes. This clip point, which I prefer the look of on a tactical kind of knife like this, or a spear point. All of them have the black coated blade, which I think Cold Steel does a really good job on. The only complaint I have about the coating, normally I don't like coating. Obviously, if I could get it in a satin blade, I would get it in a satin blade, but the black kind of fits this design, so it doesn't bother me as much on this as it does on the American Lawman, because the American Lawman is a smaller knife, and I would like it if it was satin and it didn't look quite as intimidating. I'd probably carry it just a bit more. But anywho, it fits very well on this. The only complaint I have about the black coating, and this is universal for black coated Cold Steels, and it's the tiniest stupid little niggle, but yeah, it fingerprints like it's its job. I mean, I think I said in the American Lawman review, if this was shot in 4K, you could probably steal my identity with that fingerprint. Like, it's just a perfect fingerprint material. In fact, I'm going to wipe it off here. But yeah, let's get into the specs really quick before we get too much farther into this. I moved my notes out of my own way. We have, as I said, blade length. These are 1/2-inch squares on this particular background. We have an overall blade length of 4 inches, overall complete length of 9.4 inches. We have a blade thickness of 0.14 inches, handle thickness of dead on 1/2 inch, and a weight of 5.2 ounces. So for a knife this size, and for a big heavy-duty knife like this, not bad. That is mostly because the Cold Steel tradition, which I kind of like. This is going to be the most complimentary video about Cold Steel I've ever done. But they do these linerless G10 scales, which are, or handle, however you want to word it, which are great. They are plenty stiff enough to take care of this knife. It does have a G10 backspacer, but the triad lock design covers so much of the of the length of the knife that they just don't really need to have internal scales to beef them up anymore. This is a beefy, tough knife. Full liners are not. It's very beefy and tough. Let's do a few size comparisons here. This is big. Let's just I just want to express that before we get started. Just want to prepare everyone. This is a big knife. We have it against the Ontario Rat Model 1, also I would call a fairly large knife. It is much larger than that. We have the let's compare it against one of its brethren here, keeping it in the family, the American Lawman. It is quite a bit bigger than an American Lawman. Also, we have, let's compare it against something that is more close to its size. We have the Spyderco Mannix 2 XL. So to get a Spyderco this size, you got to go to the XL. This is the standard size for this thing. And another big knife that I happen to have here, we have the ZT 0452 CF. There we go. Now we got something that's really truly competing. It's about the same length. It's still just a hair shorter in overall length. And now, just for consistency's sake, let's use two of our regular analogs that you guys may have more likely seen. We have the Chris Reeve Large Sebenza and the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Got the fancy one out today. So yeah, you can see it's a big sucker. But again, it's designed to be a tactical folder, and they don't make any apologies about that. So I have no problem with it. It's all right. It's still, yeah, we'll get to that later, but it still carries okay for what it is. All right, let's talk about the aesthetics and the quality of this thing. You guys are expecting me to give Cold Steel a hard time because of the name or the graphics or whatever, like I usually do. I'm not gonna on this knife because, again, it's a tactical folder, and that's what Cold Steel does very well. I think Recon 1 is actually a pretty cool name for it. I actually kind of like it. The billboarding is not ridiculous on the blade at all. It looks perfectly, almost tasteful. And I kind of like the little logo with the little crosshair things on it. I kind of like it. And it does come in multiple colors. It comes in this OD, or this is the dark brown earth color. Comes in an OD green, comes in a black. Again, they're all black blades, but for tactical, I think it looks pretty good. I have no real issues with the aesthetics of it at all. I think it's actually a pretty good looking knife in this category. It's one of, I think that I'm not really a tactical kind of guy, and this is, I think, one of the better looking knives in this kind of category. And especially, you know, for the price, like it's looking at about $100 for one of these things. The S35 isn't going to change that. So, and quality wise, also for $100, it's really well put together. It really is. I have no quality issues with it either. Blade centering's good. All the fit and finish is good. All this G10 is just begging to have sharp edges on it, and it doesn't. And as I said, their blade coating is very good. I would prefer it to be satin, but it isn't, and it's fine. It's a very good quality coating. I've been using the hell out of my American Lawman, and don't have a single scuff on it. So, yeah, I really like the way it looks, and I think it's very well built. There you go, Cold Steel. I'm saying nice things about you. Now, the blade, also, I like. It's very slicey for the size that it is. It is a hollow grind, and the XHP steel is going to hold an edge forever, and I really do like that about XHP. It's one of my favorite things about it. I'm a big XHP fan, so that was part of the reason why I popped on one of these as soon as I saw a deal on Mass Drop, which is long since over, so I'm not even going to bother telling you what I paid for it. But yeah, XHP for $100, and it's very sharp out of the box. Cold Steels are always super sharp out of the box, unsurprisingly, by their videos and stuff. They do a good job sharpening them from the factory, though, and the hollow grind makes it fairly slicey. Again, 0.14 inch blade thickness, so it's not even super thick here at the top. It's pretty high hollow grind. It's good. The tip is pretty robust. It's got a nice swedge here. The tip is good for piercing tasks and stuff, as you'd expect. The spear point is even a bit more beefy at the tip. So if you're going to be stabbing into a lot of hard stuff, you might prefer the spear point. But I think for most people, the clip point's going to be a little bit better designed. You get a little more flat. Yeah, I love the blade on this thing. I think it's a great blade. Same way I feel about the American Lawman. Cold Steel, for as much as I give them crap, they can design a good actual blade. I do have to say that. And most of their blades themselves, in my experience, the ones that I've used, which aren't that many, they've been very, very good. Now, ergonomically, also good. Very good. Very, very good. Surprisingly good. This is a big knife. It's always going to feel big in your hand. And big knives usually have better ergonomics because it's easier to design a big knife than it is to design a small one to fit in your hand. But this is just excellent. The finger grooves fit my hands perfectly. I will caveat to all this will be if those finger grooves don't fit you, you might not feel the same way. But again, as I always say, I have large hands with skinny fingers, long skinny fingers. So it fits me just perfectly in almost any grip. It still fits perfectly. And the super grippy G10, this knife ain't going nowhere. It's stuck in your hand. And I like it because it does fit so many grips, and if you switch it around, it's much less likely to fall out of your hand because you just have so much grip on that G10. It is a disadvantage in one area we'll get to later, but an easy thing to fix. The only flaw I have with the ergonomics, and I can't believe I'm saying this about Cold Steel, there is no jimping on the blade. There's just jimping on the G10, and this is a sentence I never thought I'd say. I wish Cold Steel would have been more aggressive. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I wish they'd have been more aggressive with the jimping on this. I think if they'd have made that protrude just a hair, I would have liked that. You can't choke up on it, but that's fine in a knife like this. This is not a knife meant for detail work. It just isn't. Like I said, it's unapologetic in its purpose of use, and I'm okay with that. Not saying that it's only tactical. It works great for outdoorsy bushcraft kind of stuff too. But this is just a heavy use knife, and I'm perfectly fine with the ergonomics. The grippy G10 is just outstanding. If it's going to be wet outside or something like that, it'll work great. Now the downside I said that the grippy G10 has when it comes to the carry. This thing fits much better in the pocket than I expected it to. It is fairly tall, but you can get your... I could get my hand past it to get small things out of my pocket. Like if you have a wallet or something, I have one of those little small front pocket wallets. If that's sunk to the bottom of your pocket, I'm probably not... I couldn't get my hand past it to get it out. But retrieving like a tube of chapstick or a lighter or something, I could pull that off. You know, so it carried much better than I expected, partly because this Cold Steel clip. Some people give them crap for it. It does come with two clips. The right hand or left hand clip is two separate shapes. So it comes with two clips though. So I don't care if you require two clips as long as you send them both to me. That's fine with me. And it is also obviously a very ambidextrous knife because it's a triad lock, which is basically, you know, works like a back lock. And yeah, it's tip up only, but that's the only way I usually carry stuff anywho. So that's fine with me. But that grippy G10, the clip contacts right, you know, there is no smooth little circle section for it to pull out on, a la, you know, FRN Spydercos that put that, they make sure the clip lands on their logo on that side so that it slides in out of the pocket easy. Now, I will link down below, Baz on Blades had a cool little tutorial about how to modify this so it makes it easier. You basically just tape off around where it contacts and you sand it down, but he gives a much better explanation of how to properly do it. I'm probably going to do that pretty shortly after I finish this video because I like this enough that I do want to carry it more, and I would like to smooth it out so it comes in and out of the pocket just a bit easier. Other than that, I think it carries pretty good for its size. Deployment, I've had a few Cold Steels. I've owned three. This is my third, and I've handled and played with a couple of other ones. I have to say that out of the box, this is the best one I've had. The triad lock is very, very rigid. It is definitely, I don't think any of us can argue, it probably is the toughest lock you can buy in a folding knife. Cold Steel has proven it in many ridiculous ways. It is a very tough lock, but the problem has always been that the back lock, you know, the release, the triad lock release, which is like a back lock, required a lot of effort. I have had this Cold Steel American Lawman for many, many months and used it a lot. I like the knife, but it still takes a fair amount of effort to get it to drop. Now, on this Recon 1, out of the box, I don't know if it's specific to the Recon 1 or just the one that I got. It doesn't take much effort at all. I'm not pushing on this any harder than I am on like a buck 110. Less than a buck 110 probably. And it just drops. It feels, actually the push is pretty similar to my Spyderco Native 5 lightweight, or my it's not as smooth as my Mannix 2 backlock, but my Native 5 lightweight. It feels kind of similar to that. The amount of effort it takes to push down on that, not bad at all. I have no problems with that. It's still not something you're going to flick out. You can if you want to be dramatic and you have a lot of room, but it's not something you're usually going to flick out. You're mostly going to roll these open, which is fine. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the action on it at all either. So my conclusion we've reached after 15 minutes, I'm not getting rid of it. I honestly got it just to do a comparison to the Mannix 2 XL, and I was expecting the Mannix 2 XL to slaughter it. I have not done that comparison yet. Once the scores come, it still may slaughter it, but I like it enough that I want to hold on to it. It's pretty cool. The American Lawman is smaller and perhaps maybe still my favorite cold steel, just because it's a little smaller, and that's more kind of in the size that I usually carry. But when I want something big and ridiculous, this is a really good choice. And I'm glad I got one in the XHP. I obviously really like S35VN. I think I said in a video once it's one of my favorite steels, and it is, but not in a silly knife. These are meant to do heavy-duty, long-term use stuff, and the XHP just holds an edge so well. I would prefer the XHP. I think in most quantifiable ways, the S35VN is probably almost as good, but I prefer the XHP. So, for the purpose of this knife. So if you guys, like me, have a soft spot for XHP, go grab one now. They're still widely available. Blade HQ, you can get them in all the colors and a whole bunch, and the multiple blade points and all that stuff. And, excuse me, if you look around more, there's even more available. But I'm glad I nabbed an XHP one while they were still around. I think the S35VN I would be 95% as happy with as I am with this, but that extra 5% was worth me jumping out and grabbing one. So I suggest you guys do the same. Again, 90 to 100 bucks. I think it's a very good value. I don't see those prices going down. I've seen some people on message boards saying, oh, I'm going to wait because they're going to be blowing the XHPs out. I got word of this on Massdrop for a comparison test, and I did get a good deal. Massdrop had one good deal, but it's long since gone. Other than that, I have seen no other good deals. I don't think you're going to see these go down in price. Maybe I'll be wrong, and I'm sure someone will point out in the comments below if I am, but so many people love the XHP that I think these are going to stay at full retail until they're gone. If I was a knife seller, I'd leave them at full retail till they were gone because people are going to want them. Nothing wrong with S35VN. I think people may argue it's a better choice, and it's not Cold Steel's fault. That's what they can get, and for what they can get, I think that was a very good choice. I just prefer the XHP. So snap one up while you can. If you can't, get an S35VN and you can still sleep at night. They're still great. But I've been Brian. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope I have shocked no one out of their chair about how, I guess I gave a very positive review to the American Lawman also, but this one I am even more positive about, I think, just because for its purpose, it's pretty perfect. It's pretty great. So check one out. Grab one if you want the XHP. I've been Brian. Have a good one.